series of influence, and we are on week 3 at the minute. So week 3. Now, this series that certainly I've been challenged as I've been doing it, as we've been going along, I've been really challenged by this. Now, this series is definitely one that has captivated me personally. And I think that for others, and certainly the conversations that I've had, it's been one that we've been able to talk about and to discuss with others because they never thought about themselves as being people of influence. I'm just going to give a really, really quick recap of week 1 and week 2. So week 1, we were looking at the sphere of influence. Now, so we looked at various different situations where we were at and where we were sitting, where we were going, and looking at there being some mechanical devices as well, and we looked at a plane and you know the importance of having the right parts in the right places, knowing that if they weren't, basically would fall apart. So of course we spoke about that, and of course the influence that some parts have against others. Then the second week we spoke about I put some various trees up, and we spoke about the power of trees and what they did and how they pull up some water from, having huge roots in the desert, and yet they're able to share what they have with others, therefore giving life, giving nutrients to other trees that could not get what others get. And of course we spoke about that, about where God sees that as well. This week, the power of influence, I'm looking directly at myself and you. See, we are people of influence, whether we like it or not. Some people think that you don't have a part to play. I can absolutely tell you that you do. Everything that you do, you have a power of influence in some shape or form. Disney. I don't know if I like watching Disney films. And there certainly are some Disney films that have come out. Disney is a massive, multi-billion pound machine. There is no doubt about that. Whether or not you go to watch some Disney films, or you go to Disneyland, whether or not you go on trips, or you go and spend a night in a hotel that is all Disney-fied, you can go whatever you want to do and see Disney. In fact, I'm in a wedding next week, and even part of the wedding, you're going to see various bits of Disney in and through this wedding. Why? Because people like it so much. So, people are heavily influenced by various things of Disney. But sometimes a person can look at a Disney character or a Disney program and can think to yourselves, there's something missing. Now, for some of us, we can look at Marvel and see ourselves back in a mirror. For some of you, you could be like the Green Hulk, and others you could be, let me think. I've got to be careful here. Spider-Man. See, we can all look at each other and I'm going to move on from that. So we can have various things that we look to. But tonight, I want to tell you a really quick story, and it's an absolutely true story. We've got a friend of ours, and some of you may know her. Her name is Cyrilyn. Cyrilyn has a daughter, and her daughter, she wears glasses. And she loves watching Disney. But she saw one problem. See, there's no Disney character that wears glasses. And she felt completely isolated and alone. She felt that she was, because she was the only one in her family that wore glasses, she felt really that she was the odd one out. And when you look at the Disney character, you found a Disney character, none of them were wearing glasses. So she went through this whole feeling of maybe I'm not perfect because I wear glasses. Maybe I'm the odd one out because I wear glasses. This affected her so much that one day when she was about 9 years of age, she decided to write a letter to Disney. In fact, she wrote a strong-worded letter that explained all of her emotions and what she was going through and how she wears glasses, but yet none of the Disney characters at all wear glasses, and she feels completely left out and isolated, and asking the question, would you consider putting glasses onto one of your characters? Some time went by, and some years went by, in fact, and she heard nothing until a few weeks ago. Could you please put the picture up for me? There you see, there's a picture of the little girl with her glasses on, but now you also see a Disney character wearing glasses. All throughout this week and last week, there's been a major push on this film. It's been a Disney film that's been released. The film is called? You know it. Encanto. There it is. And there's a little girl wearing glasses. How amazing is it that because of a little girl that had a passion of feeling left out, maybe, of being isolated, she felt so much that she wanted to contact someone that she felt would listen in some way. And now we have a Disney film. There it is. Now we have a Disney film with a girl wearing glasses. The power of influence. Just over a letter that was sent. And here we are today with that. I think that's an incredible story. Not only that, but the person that has written that letter in the first place, she's now gone on to write books. Certainly there's one book that's been released about the girl that's wearing glasses. I should have bought that tonight or put it up, but I haven't. But you can do your own digging, of course. It's very popular. The little girl has been on. The girl has been on BBC News. She's been on Sky. She's been all over the place. Been on Radio 2 this week on an interview. So just because the power of influence has really got out. Now, I don't know if you noticed tonight, but within our reading that was beautifully read, so thank you so much to Amanda for reading that for us tonight. I don't know if any of you noticed, but the power of influence was all over that story that was read. For some of us, we would have picked up on the fact that there was healing that was done. But for others, maybe, you would have brushed past it. And tonight, I really want to home in on a few things. Because the power of influence was right there, really from the very beginning of this scripture. See, I'm blown away by the power of influence on someone that was yet not part of the family, but yet was added to the family, not because of her choice, but by circumstances that she found herself, yet she was able, through the power of just communication, being able to talk to someone, to have her and to voice her opinion. Her opinion was so valid that influenced kings. That influenced decisions. So I've got a few points tonight. I'm going to go through these really quick because I know that last week I preached for 43 minutes and it was too long. So this week I'm going to be a bit less. Is that all right, Josh? You reminded me last week I was too long, whatever he is. So, this week, power of conversation. Point number 1. Conversation can be highly influential. Your conversations that you have can be highly influential. See, whether or not you accept it or not, the way that we can conduct ourselves and hold conversations can be life-changing to some. I've got a few friends of mine that have businesses, and they have gone through some really tough, challenging times. There was many times they wanted to chuck in the towel and to say, I'm done. I'm done. Only from sitting down having conversations with them do they then decide, actually, I'm going to give it another go. I'm going to keep on going. Unfortunately for them, they've turned their businesses around and they're now flourishing. But there's been many times where people have gone through situations where they needed someone else to sit down, have a conversation, take them through, walk them through the process, and before you know it, you've come out the other side really, really helpful, in a really helpful way. See, as we look at this scripture, we could have missed it, and I'm smiling so much because of this. It says this: at this time, the Aram raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, I wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy. I'm going to say that again. I wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy. Notice the word in there, guys. You've got to bear in mind with this. This is a girl that is completely been taken out of her homeland. She has been a person that's been taken away, and now she's serving this lady. And she's serving her in a way that is... Now, I'm guessing, I don't have servants myself. Maybe some of you do. Although I'm sure that in the custom of those days and around the world right now, servants are people that come in and of course help your daily lives. They come in and aid you. I don't know if I can jump to the Queen for one moment and to think that maybe the people that she has working for her, would they be allowed to have a conversation with her to talk about her family? I don't know if that would be allowed. Maybe I should write to her. I don't know if that would be allowed. But what I do know is, if you're working in a close, confined space to someone else that could have the ear of someone else, you could be influential within those spheres of where you're working, of where you are. Certainly, this girl managed, through conversation, to make a big difference. And this is what happened. Point 2, she ended up building relationship. Listen to this really carefully. They were going through a really tough time. Bear in mind, her husband had leprosy. Her husband effectively was in a really, really poor state of health. His wife would have been feeling that completely, and feeling low, and feeling that, oh my goodness, what could I do for my husband? I would have done anything for him. So she's in communication with this girl that helps her on a daily basis. And of course, the girl says to her, if only you could go to. If only you could get to where you needed to get to. Something would change. Right then and there, you can almost see spirits being lifted. Why? Because the power of communication is gone from being quite down. And if you think, of being in a hopeless situation to all of a sudden someone giving you hope. Everything's turned around. Everything's changed. And right there and then, this girl gave hope where there seemed to be no hope. Leprosy is a horrible illness. And all of a sudden, hope seems to appear because of a conversation from someone that was willing to have a conversation that really she shouldn't be having. Just think about this. You've got hierarchy here. This should never be happening, but yet it has happened. And now you're in a place whereby it's almost like Chinese whispers. The wife has gone to the husband then has gone to the king has then says, go! Why? Because there's been almost a raise of hope in the circumstances that they find themselves in. I don't know about you guys, but if it was me, and I was in a place where life wasn't looking too good, and if someone said, if you go here, you would be cured. Let's be honest. Who would do that? I absolutely would. And if I could do that for a friend or for family, you absolutely would. Every time. Why? Because all of a sudden, you see that there could be a breakthrough moment. Even if you don't know it or knew it, there's a breakthrough moment that could be ahead. I put on my Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, I heard some news about a new cancer centre that's being built in Gwent. And for those of you that know me, know that when we lost Adele's mum, a year later or so, I ended up doing a walk and raising money for an amazing charity that helped and supported all the way through. As we did that, that charity is now has ploughed millions into trying to help and solve cancer. Because cancer just robs you of life. Personally, I hate it. Because it just takes away everything that you love so dearly. So if someone said to me, Pete, if you go over to that place over there and that's the place to solve all your cancerous problems, and but if you go there and meet this guy, he will solve your all of a sudden your hope is raised. My hope would be raised. My expectation levels would be raised, and man, I would move heaven and earth to try and get there. This is exactly what has happened in this story. There's nothing different about it apart from a person that was able to speak into the situation to say, if you go and see this person, there is hope. Wow. Wow. Faith levels have risen. Number 3, they were willing to take time out and to travel to see that person. Go in the distance. No matter the cost, no matter the place, no matter where it was, you would travel wherever you needed to travel to get to wherever you needed to get to for whatever surgery you needed to go to. Fact. If someone said you needed to go to wherever and I needed to have help and support, you would try everything that you could for it. Everything that you could. See, guys, every choice that is being made right now is all influence that is stemmed from the conversation from the girl in the beginning. Notice this. From the traveling to the communication of going to see the king, for the letter that the king had written to say go and speak to, all of that was done all because of a conversation that took place, and the faith levels have risen to get to where they needed to get to. But I can't go on without saying, number 4, disappointment came because his expectations weren't met. You imagine for one moment you're told to go to a place, and you go there with the expectation of this person is going to be the person that's going to hear you. You're going to see this person is going to be the answer. You get there, you don't see that person. It's like having the rug pulled from underneath you. Going, what's going on? I thought this was going to happen. I thought this was going to be the case. I thought my expectations were I was going to be met with someone that was going to do X, Y, and Z. And when someone says, what was you expecting? He was just saying, I want him to just wave a hand over me and say a prayer to whoever. That's exactly what the communication was. And I would be healed. Notice that. His expectation was to do nothing because he'd already traveled. He's like, God, I've done the distance. I've done what other people have said. My faith levels have risen. I'm going to be healed from leprosy. My expectation is a guy's going to just wave a hand, pray a magic prayer over me, and I'm going to be done. Happy days. Was not the case. It was not the case because from there on in, of course, there was a message that was given that said, go and bathe 7 times in the river. For him, he's like, what? Why have I got to do this? I've already traveled all of this distance, and yet I've got to go and have a bath. Granted, he could have been a bit smelly at that time. He had traveled a fair distance. Could need it, but he's like, what? I don't get it. And then it takes somebody else to come into his situation to say, hang on, if you had to do a big task, one which was hard, one which made you feel good, wouldn't you have done it? Yeah, I would have. But instead, it's, hang on, I've got to go and bathe in a river? 7 times? Yeah. Can you see the disappointment that happened? But here comes the good bit. Number 5, self-evaluation. He had to evaluate where he was and go, absolutely, I need to make the decision to go and to do this for me. When that happened, his faith levels were raised back up. See, he had gone from being really excited, going to see, expecting that he was going to be healed, this guy was going to pray over him. That didn't happen. He gets disappointed. Then the self-evaluation takes place. He puts down all the pride, all that stuff, and he says, I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to go and bathe in the water 7 times. I love it. See, when he did that, number 6, when he absolutely put his faith into action and did what he was told to do, not only was his skin renewed, but don't miss the bit that it says, and he was renewed. Not just his body was renewed, he was renewed whole. Why? See, there was a process that he had to go through that meant that he was stepping into an unknown time, but yet believing by faith, almost a bit. Yet he didn't know the God. He didn't understand what was going on, but he believed that somebody else did. And of course, at the very end of this, it all turns around and he says, there is no God apart from your God. He sees it fully, exactly for where it is. Why? Because his God made a remarkable impact upon his life. Do you notice what needs to be done here, guys? When you put faith into action, there is a huge impact that it has on our lives. Maybe your life. But it all stemmed from the power of influence over a conversation that took place. I love it. From being almost, you could just imagine, oh, I wish that my family member would just go and sort himself out. I wish he would do that. Because I know that there is a better option. How many of us have been there and said, I wish that he would come to church. I wish that they would do that. Maybe it all stems from a communication in the beginning. Maybe it all stems, all of it, from communication. From opening dialogue that you have with someone. And when you open dialogue, the expectation is that it's going to go somewhere with hope. It's going to go somewhere with faith and expectation that God's going to do whatever God can do. And as I'm going to come into land here, I won't be too much longer. Am I all right, Josh, for time? Even though his faith levels were raised, see, everyone could be a part of his story. Everyone. And I love it because your story is not just yours. Other people have come into your story, and other people have spoken into your life, and other people have given time. Other people have encouraged you on your journey. Other people have been there. I'm blown away tonight. I've got these, I had no idea that a friend of mine, Keith, is sitting in this congregation. I had no idea that he was coming tonight. A guy that was hugely influential upon my life and Adele's. And because of that, I am where I am today. Because someone was willing to spend time. Someone was willing to have a conversation. Someone was willing to open up their house and to say, come on in, what's going wrong? Notice this, it wasn't about judging or putting people down. It was all about welcoming. And if you have relationship that encourages growth in and through everyone, what a difference you will make. And here's the thing, maybe the person that makes the influence isn't on that journey when you finally get to where you need to get to. That girl wasn't on that journey, but yet she was the influential figure in the conversation. Amazing. She wasn't a person that, it doesn't say in the Bible, it doesn't say that she was there when he was made whole. It doesn't say that at all. In fact, it doesn't even say her name. But how amazing is it that people can be influential in your life, that can take you on that journey and can encourage you to be the best that you can. And I believe tonight wholeheartedly that God is absolutely saying to us, as we're on this journey, never underestimate the position of influence that you're in. Never underestimate the position of influence that you're in. Because one communication, one conversation can change everything. Let's stand.